You've gotten slow. Sifu.
Sifu, probably the best combat game ever released in my opinion. But don't we have Sekiro, God of War, Batman Arkham series and Insomniac's Spider-Man already? Yes, we have, and they are very good indeed. But for most of the games, combat is part of the game, not the entire game. But isn't Sekiro, Devil May Cry, Bloodborne or Dark Souls all about combat? Let's go one by one. Batman, Devil May Cry and God of War. I'll call them button mashers, and not in a bad way at all. If you know what you are doing, you can do amazing stuff in those games. But most of the time you can get away with just button mashing and your character will do a cool combo anyways. While in Sifu, that's not the case. The game has certain degree of challenge where you can't just rely on mindlessly mashing buttons. You have to observe your enemy and decide whether it's time to button mash a cool combo on them, or dodge, evade, make some distance, or use your environment for your advantage. But that's what FromSoftware players already do, right? Yeah, but also no. Combat in Souls game is different. First, it's primarily weapon based and it forces you to play defensively. You can't be constantly locking horns with the bosses all the time. You have to wait for an opening, learn the attack patterns, manage your stamina and attack at the right moment. While there is a rally mechanic in Bloodborne which encourages you to be aggressive with the gameplay, but you can't be constantly up close to the enemy and doing a relentless beatdown. You are fighting legendary beasts and cosmic amalgamation in those games, not some puny human.
Sekiro.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Sifu, on the flip side, is all about being up close to the enemies and constantly parrying, evading and attacking and landing cool combos until their posture breaks and you can do an awesome finisher to them, which is procedurally generated and looks pretty cool by the way. The only game that comes close in terms of combat with this one is Sekiro. And you might have also noticed a lot of similarities here as well. There is a posture system, you have to time your parries right, enemy does some attacks which can't be parried but only be dodged. The bosses are hard and there is even a resurrection mechanic. But unlike Sekiro, where you mainly focus on fighting with the sword and getting your parries right, with occasional help from your prosthetic arm and shinobi tools, Sifu gives you a varied combat, where you can use high attacks, low attacks, focus attacks, use chair to knock down your enemies, use bottles, throw bricks, throw the enemy themselves, disarm an enemy and make their weapon your weapon, use the cool new combo you just unlocked and much more. To me, Sifu feels like some mechanics from Sekiro and a variety from Devil May Cry, fused together in a cool game about martial arts. And boy does it feel fun and satisfying. Now you might have already noticed that the devs did not take the route of making the game hyper-realistic, but the visuals in Sifu are very artistic. This deliberate choice enhances the game's atmosphere, allowing the visual to feel more like a living artwork rather than just another digital landscape. The world of Sifu is inspired by two Chinese concepts, Wuxing and 5 virtues of Confucian ethical code. Therefore, there are 5 bosses and 5 levels in the main story. Wuxing, which means 5 elements or 5 phases. Every boss in this game represents one element. Fajar, the botanist, represents wood. Sean, the fighter, who represents fire. Kuroki, the artist, represents water. Jinfeng, the CEO, represents metal. Yang, the leader, represents earth. Each level is a meticulously crafted reflection of the boss's essence, embodying what they truly represent. The art style breathes life into these themes in a way that hyper-realistic graphics could never fully capture. While the combat takes the center stage for the Sifu, the story is special too. Now I agree that it's not at the level of Last of Us or Red Dead Redemption with major plot twists, but it has something special in terms of the gameplay. In starting of the game, Yang, who happens to be the disciple of Sifu, protagonist's father, comes to the school and kills him. After that, he finds the protagonist
Show yourself.
and kill him, her, depending on what you choose, too, despite being just a kid. However, the protagonist was saved by a sacred and magical pendant. Now the game starts as it shows the protagonist grow up, mastering the techniques. In my opinion, Sifu has the best opening sequence in any video game. It not only serves as an opening sequence but also a tutorial telling you who the enemies are and specifically telling you to kill these guys who destroyed your everything. This section contains some spoiler about the gameplay. If you like to figure everything out by yourself, I would suggest you to skip this section. I'll put the timestamp here as well. Still here? Alright then. After you fight all the bad guys and reach the boss, and after a long and intense fight, as soon as you hit the final blow, it becomes natural to you to hit the finisher and kill them. After all, these were the guys who took everything from you, and the game specifically told you to do so in the tutorial as well.
I have spent 8 long years preparing for this.
But remember, I told you about the concept of 5 Confucian virtues? Ren, benevolence and kindness. Yi, righteousness or justice. Li, proper behavior or ritual. Zi, wisdom. Shin, trustworthiness or integrity. Now it's up to you whether you want to kill the enemies and succumb to the vengeance, or you will show mercy and spare them to attain Wood. Wood, which literally means martial morality, and it's by attaining Wood you will unlock the true ending of this game. Yes, you can choose to not hit the finisher and break their posture again, and the game will give you a secret option to spare them. The story itself is pretty linear, and the game never explicitly told you that you can spare your enemies. But it's left up to you, whether you live by the value of a true martial artist or destroy everything by being blinded by vengeance. The pendant, which brought the protagonist back to life, plays a key role in the game. The game is hard and it's expected for players to die a lot. To balance this out, there is a unique mechanic of death and aging in the game. The rules are simple. Whenever the player dies, your death counter goes up by 1, and this death counter will be added to your age, and you will be resurrected by the magical power of the pendant. The pendant has 5 coins in it, and each time your age increases by 10, 1 coin from the pendant will shatter. The older you get, the harder you hit and the less health you have. And once your age reaches 70 plus, the game will be over for you. You can decrease your death counter if you take down the enemy that killed you. But what if you die too much in a level? Well, you can start the level again and you'll start from the age that you started the level initially in. But this will override the data after this point. The shortcut and the skills that you unlocked, however, will remain unlocked. The game is hard but also forgiving. The resurrection mechanic gives you a lot of opportunities to practice and get good. Unlike Soulsborne game where you literally have to run back to the boss, dodging 50 enemies and traps in between. If you remember games like Prince of Persia, you didn't have to invest so much time in these games. You can sit down, pick up the game, have a blast and move on. Sifu captures that spirit for me. You don't need to sink hundreds of hours into it, though you could if you wanted. It has 5 beautiful levels and 5 different bosses and a ton of fun combat segment in between. I highly recommend you to check it out if you haven't already, because it is what a video game is supposed to be. Fun. And I hope you had fun watching this video. Thank you so much for watching.